So there's an article that went up on ProFootballFocus.com this week talking about David Johnson and the impact he could have within this system. And I think generally the Kliff Kingsbury offense is an interesting one to talk about, right? He comes from this air raid system, this Mike Leach lineage of, classic college spread offenses. The NFL has been trending more to spread concepts for years. And even within those ideas, there are these hyper spread systems that,
right.
And that the air raid is one of those where it's 5 wide a ton of the time. The run game, Mike Leach is one of these coaches that talks about balance and how balance is not run pass. All the stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah,
balance
right.
is not run pass. Balance is just ensuring that you don't know what's coming. And they basically use the passing game to almost determine when they run the ball. We're not going to run the ball until the box count is beneficial, and then we'll run it. So you've got this system where Kingsbury's coming over from Texas Tech. You've got a quarterback, a new one that should be an upgrade. Kyler Murray, we thought, was a significantly better prospect coming out than Josh Rosen, hence the move that the Cardinals had to make. He has this added dimension with what he can do, rushing the ball as well as being an excellent passer of the football. They went hard to surround him with weapons in the draft. Andy Isabella, they got a ton of wide receivers to throw the ball to. You've got David Johnson, who in his breakout season was a phenomenal receiving back, and not just out of the backfield. His average depth of target was the highest we've seen from a running back. They were splitting him out wide, having him run legitimate wide receiver patterns, putting the ball downfield.
Thank you, Bruce Arians.
Right. So you've got suddenly all these pieces kind of aligning to be this really interesting system. Their offensive line still has a lot of question marks, but one, you've got Kyler Murray, who will mitigate a lot of offensive line problems in the same way Russell Wilson does, just by running around. Two, you've got the system, which does the same kind of thing. You have all these guys up.
Generally helps.
Well, you have all these guys up in Washington State under Mike Leach who don't ever give up any pressure because the ball is gone. It's just an endless sequence of quick passes. Those guys are not put under the same kind of pressure that you think of, say Aaron Rodgers at the other end of the scale. The Green Bay Packers,
he holds the ball forever.
Right, they have to deal with 3-second drops every time they're going back to pass block. Every time the Cardinals go back to pass block from now on, they're going to be dealing with like 1.5 seconds, the ball's gone. You could hold up for that length of time pass blocking on the edge. So suddenly you've got this.
That's one job I will not be applying for.
Good. Suddenly you've got this really intriguing set of things all coming together to make the Cardinals like a really interesting team to watch.
So they were one of the worst teams to watch last year.
Yeah.
I also look at their personnel on the offensive line, and as bad as they were last year,
right.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did creep back toward average, even if they were running a more traditional type of system with guys like Mason Cole in year 2 and Justin Pugh. Again, it's like every year, is he healthy? And the trading for Marcus Gilbert. DJ Humphries has continued to improve. J.R. Sweezy's, Max Garcia. I mean, they've got some guys that can be.
There's like a half-decent offensive line in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just, who knows if it'll actually come together that way.
Now, I don't think that he's running the straight 10 personnel, which is 4 wide receivers.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way like pure unadulterated.
Yeah, well, that's not what they did at Tech anyway,
in.
because he's run all sorts of different hybrids. But just the fact that he has a guy like Ricky Seals-Jones, who's listed as a tight end but was a receiver at Texas A&M, Charles Clay, who I know he's getting a little bit older, but back in the day at Tulsa was like Mr. Hybrid, halfback, tight end,
and David Johnson.
H-back,
You've got a ton
slot.
of these
David
guys.
Johnson. We mentioned we have Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella. What they were able to do, of course, Larry Fitzgerald, Hakeem Butler. I mean, they just have all sorts of different style playmakers. It is going to be fascinating to watch. Kingsbury, if you look at the quarterbacks he's worked with through the years, what a list. Case Keenum in college. So college Case Keenum when he was tearing it up.
Setting records.
Johnny Manziel during his 2-year, his Heisman Trophy run. And then at Texas Tech, he had Baker Mayfield for that one season. He had Patrick Mahomes. It is a fascinating list of some really good quarterbacks that he's worked with. And now that's not giving him credit for any of that stuff. Maybe you give him some credit for the Johnny Manziel and his development and Case Keenum's development. Baker he grabbed as a walk-on, he started as a walk-on true freshman, had a nice season in 2013. Mahomes, I guess he found and developed Mahomes, but he's got this history and track record of working with some of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, and Case Keenum.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be really fascinating to see this team. It would be interesting anyway, just with the guys they've collected in terms of personnel, the changes they've made there.
Right.
But this offensive system in the NFL, or what this offensive system looks like in the NFL, is going to be really, really interesting to watch, because it is, there is a fairly wide spectrum now of what NFL teams are doing from an offensive schematic point of view, right? There are still teams that, all at one end, you've got the Baltimore Ravens with their run-heavy thing, because they've got a quarterback that, isn't great passing the ball anymore. And even that, with Greg Roman's system, it's like a creative run-heavy system, so it's interesting in and of its own right, just different from everything else. But then you've got various spectrums of how spread happy is this team, how kind of college-like is this offense, and then right the way at the other end of the scale, you've got Kliff Kingsbury's system and what that could be. Like, that could be anywhere from, extreme college end of the spectrum to somewhere that's just, relatively extreme from the NFL side of things. Where it falls in the spectrum of what that offense could be is going to be interesting to watch, and then how successful that is at the NFL level.
Oh, we'll be watching. We're watching a lot more Cardinals this year.